Parents always tell their kids, be careful who you become friends with. I never thought those words would save my son's life. It started during the first week of school. My 8-year-old son, George, came home smiling. He couldn't stop talking about the new kid. His name is Sebastian, he said. He wants to be my best friend. At first, I was happy. George had always been shy. It was nice seeing him excited. But after a few days, something changed. Every afternoon, George came home with strange stories. He talks to someone who isn't there. He says mirrors are like doors. He says his best friend isn't really Sebastian. I laughed it off. Kids have wild imaginations. At least, that's what I wanted to believe. A week later, I got a call from George's teacher. She sounded nervous. There was an incident today. She explained that Sebastian suddenly stood up in class, started talking to the empty corner of the room, then laughed. Not a normal laugh. A slow, cold, almost adult laugh. The classroom went completely silent. When the teacher asked who he was talking to, Sebastian smiled. He says you're standing in his spot. No one was there. The next weekend, George begged me. Can Sebastian sleep over? I hesitated. But his mother seemed polite. So I agreed. That night, everything felt normal. The boys watched movies. Played video games. Laughed until bedtime. Around 2:40 in the morning, I woke up to whispering. At first, I thought the boys were still awake. I quietly walked toward the bathroom. That's when I heard another voice. Not George's. Not Sebastian's. A deep, calm, almost old man's voice. It was coming from inside the bathroom. I slowly pushed the door open. Sebastian stood alone in front of the mirror. His eyes were closed. His lips moved rapidly. He wasn't speaking English. He wasn't speaking any language I had ever heard. Then, his voice suddenly changed. It became deep. Cold. Almost impossible for a child. He looked into the mirror and whispered, "Mr. Jim, I'm ready." My blood turned to ice. Then, without turning around, Sebastian quietly said, "She's watching us." I hadn't made a sound. I ran back to George's room. He was asleep. Completely unaware. The next morning, I asked Sebastian what happened. He looked confused. What mirror? I slept all night. He honestly seemed like he didn't remember anything. Later that afternoon, I visited his mother. I carefully told her everything. Instead of looking surprised, she went completely pale. She quietly thanked me, then closed the door. 3 days later, George asked, "Why isn't Sebastian at school?" I called the school office. The secretary sounded confused. They moved away. No goodbye. No warning. No forwarding address. Their house was empty. Neighbors said they left overnight. Furniture, cars, everything, gone. Almost like they never lived there. Years have passed since then. George barely remembers Sebastian. But sometimes, when I walk past the bathroom late at night, I catch myself looking into the mirror. Just for a second. Wondering if someone else is looking back. Some houses hide ghosts. Others hide secrets that are much worse. I grew up in a very religious home. Every Sunday meant church. Every mistake was called a sin. Every nightmare was blamed on evil. As a child, I believed everything my mother said. Until one night, she scared me more than any monster ever could. It started after my 10th birthday. My mother began acting differently. She would stand in the hallway late at night, whispering prayers to someone who wasn't there. When I asked who she was talking to, she smiled. They're listening. I didn't ask another question. Days turned into weeks. Things only got stranger. She covered every mirror in the house with old blankets. She said mirrors were doors. Doors for something that wanted to come inside. My father laughed at first. Until he woke up one night, and found her standing over his bed. Completely silent. Holding a kitchen knife. She didn't remember any of it the next morning. Then, the dreams started. Every single night I dreamed about a tall man standing outside our bedroom window. He never moved. He never spoke. He only watched. I thought it was just a nightmare. Until one morning, I found muddy footprints beneath my bedroom window. Exactly where the man had been standing in my dream. I never told anyone. I was too scared. A few days later, my mother suddenly grabbed my arm during dinner. She looked terrified. Then whispered, "Don't let him know your name." I asked, "Who?" She refused to answer. That night, I woke up to someone calling my name. Softly. Over and over. The voice sounded exactly like my mother's. But, she wasn't in her room. I followed the voice downstairs. Every light in the house was off. The only sound was the ticking of the old clock. Then I saw her, standing in front of the covered living room mirror. Speaking in a language I had never heard before. She slowly reached toward the blanket. As if she wanted to uncover it. Suddenly, my father rushed in. He pulled me behind him. And dragged my mother away from the mirror. She screamed the entire time. Not in fear, in anger. The next morning, she acted as if nothing had happened. Years later, doctors finally diagnosed her with a serious mental illness. Many of the terrifying things I witnessed had a real medical explanation. But one memory still doesn't make sense: the muddy footprints outside my bedroom. No one ever found out who made them. And every now and then, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I still have the strange feeling that someone is standing just outside my window. Watching. Waiting. Without making a sound.